everybody, this is Maureen of Maureen 97 Designs, and today I wanted to start, I guess it's going to be a series about Silhouette Design Studio software, which I mentioned in my last video is a program and it's free. The basic edition of it is free, absolutely no strings attached, free. And it is software that's meant to use with the cutting machines, the electronic die cutting machines that are used for paper, and some people use them for fabric. I actually am using my Silhouette Design Studio software for designing quilts and doing things related to the quilting, like figuring out how to cut my pieces of fabric when I have yardage, things like that. So I just wanted to show you a couple things really quick about what I'm going to be going through in this series, and you can always ask me if you have anything specific you'd like me to go over. I can totally do that. But just really quickly, I wanted to show you something that I did. This is a project that I'm currently working on. I actually finished the top and the back, but I have yet to quilt them and bind them. But anyway, this is a Ready Set Splash quilt that I was working on, and I wanted to do a back with a design, and I wanted to use one of the panels from the Ready Set Splash collection. So I did this really, this is actually pretty crappy version, I guess, of it, that I got a basic overall size based on my quilt top. I got the basic size of how I want the backing to be, and this dark blue section is all yardage, and I figured out how to cut the pieces from the yardage using Silhouette Design Studio, and I put the panel in the center where I knew I wouldn't get it cut off. And then I had some extra pieces of the main fabrics from the panel left over, so I wanted to do a little strip down here using those scraps up. So this is just a really bad representation of how I did the backing, and I was able to do this all in the Design Studio. And of course this is really simple. Squares and rectangles, straight lines, really simple. So if you're going to start off with something, I would suggest something like that, not like orange peels or double wedding ring quilts, you know, like that. But then this is another project that I'm currently working on, and this is the Beauty and the Beast collection, and I am using the layer cake. So these are all actually 10-inch squares, and I'm cutting them on the diagonal and putting a little strip in between. I did not put in the little strip, but you can see I put the diagonal cuts where I'm going to cut the fabrics. And I actually, if you can see this, have pictures of the actual fabrics in my layout design. And I can show you how to do that. It's called using pattern fills. But basically this is my quilt top, how I'm gonna arrange the fabrics and which direction I'm gonna do the diagonal cuts, so that when I am getting ready to actually cut the fabrics, I know which direction I want to cut the diagonal lines on my fabrics. And then finally, this is something I just did for a previous video, which was I took a layer cake piece. This is 10 by 10, and I was able to section it off how I want to cut up that 10 by 10, or each 10 by 10 square, into pieces for a quilt. So I knew I could get all these 1.5 inch strips, and I could cut those into different sizes. I could get my 2 by 2 squares up here, and I could get a couple more 1.5 inch strips. And the colors were representing the different order, sorry, I couldn't think of the word, the different order I wanted to cut in. So first I was going to cut these pink ones, and then I would cut the yellow ones, and then the blue ones. And then this was another representation of another 10 by 10, and I cut those into 1.5 inch strips by, I forget what the length was, but I ended up cutting them, and I knew it would fit perfectly because I made this layout in Silhouette Design Studio. So I figured out how to capture the screen images on the computer, not screen images, but the video on the computer. So let's head over to my computer and I'll show you the very basics on how to get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to need to do is download the software. You go to the silhouetteamerica.com website and click on this button that says software. And then you can pick from the current version, beta version, legacy versions. And for Mac or Windows, I only use Windows, so I can't help you with any of the Mac stuff. And then down here is a click here for Silhouette Studio feature comparisons. Like I said, the basic edition of Silhouette Studio is free, like actually free, but to get more features, you need to upgrade. And I am currently using the Designer Edition, which costs an extra $49.99. And I think it was totally worth it. And the main reasons why I got it were, and you can see the features here for the basic ends here. I got it mainly so I could import PDF files and I could do layers, which is just like layers in Photoshop. And then you have rulers, guides, this, and that. And then we have the knife set tools, which I was using as well, and then a few other things. But you definitely don't need to upgrade to the Designer Edition. You can totally use it for free. Or if you've been using it for a while free, maybe you want to upgrade. It's not that bad. I think this is for as long as the software is available. It's just that one time. It's not like a subscription like Adobe or anything like that. Okay, so here we are in Silhouette Studio, and like I said before, I have the Designer Edition. So just to get a little familiarized with it, up here on the top we have our toolbars. They're kind of normal. The important things up here are the magnifying glasses, zoom in and zoom out. I'm going to be using a lot of zooming out because this right here represents a cutting mat, which is 12 by 12 inches, and this represents a piece of paper at 8.5 by 11. And my quilts are going to be much, much larger than that because I'm going to make them in actual size in the program, which means if I'm using a charm square, I'm going to have a 5-inch by 5-inch square. Speaking of which, on the side you have some drawing tools. So you can do a rectangle, rounded rectangle, ellipsis, ellipse, polygon, and that is any shape that has 3 or more sides. So we can do triangles, hexagons, octagons, whatever you want. So I'm just going to start by drawing a simple rectangle, so I'm going to pick that. And then up here in this middle section, this top middle, you can actually pick a fill color, and I'm going to pick just this light purple down here. And then this is the outline color, and I'm going to pick black just so it's a little bit easier to see. And all you do is click and drag, and you've got that light purple box with the black outline in whatever size you made it. But you're not limited to this size because you just go up here to the select tool and then you go in this middle bar and you can make it whatever width and height you want. So I can make it a 10-inch wide by 10-inch high layer cake square. And you can use the lock aspect ratio button here, but I prefer not to as I think it messes up some of the settings when I'm making larger pieces. So I just try not to use it if at all possible. So let's say I want to make a quilt that's alternating pink and green layer cake squares. So what I'm going to do is there are several ways you can do it. You can draw all your squares, and the other thing you can do is when you're drawing your rectangle, you can actually constrict it to be a square by just hitting the shift key. And a little tip is to let go of your mouse button first before your shift key so that you'll keep it as a square, because if you do your mouse button, or if you let go of the shift first, it's going to go back to being a rectangle. So let go of your mouse button first and then your shift key to keep it a square. So you can actually go ahead and draw all your squares that way, but there's a faster way to do it, and right now I'm just selecting and deleting with the delete key. You can actually duplicate. Over here on the right hand side we have a replicate panel that you can open, and you can duplicate single, and you can do that to any direction, to the left, to the right, to the bottom, or to the top. Or you can do 2 to the left or right, 3 to the right, 2 down, or 3 down, or you can fill in an entire page. And so what I'm going to do is I have it already selected. I'm going to make mine, let's say, 5 blocks wide by 7 blocks tall. So to make 5 blocks, I'm going to hit this one. I can hit the right hand side 4 times. And then I can actually duplicate this whole row, and I can do it singly, or I can do the multiples. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I need 2 more. So see, I need to zoom out, and there is my whole quilt. And if I click and drag, I can highlight the entire selection and see my quilt is 70 inches tall by 50 inches wide. However, that is not actually the finished size once you sew it, because on a layer cake you're going to lose a ½ inch on each side. So I'm actually going to change my square to be 9.5 by 9.5. And this is going to be actually the sewn size of my quilt. So now I'm going to do my duplicating. So I'm going to do 5, and I'm going to do 7 down. So when I select the whole selection, you can see my quilt is now 66.5 inches tall by 47.5 inches wide. And if I want to make those other squares green, let's use this green. Wow, that's hideous, but anyway, I can make them that color just by selecting them and changing the fill color. And if I don't want to go in and select and change all the fill colors for all those squares, I can actually just do a little bit of it, and then I can duplicate both rows. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I need a little bit more. Whoops, that was too many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm going to delete these last 3. And again, there is my 5 by 7 quilt. So that's just the super simplest way to build a quilt in Silhouette Studio with squares. You can also make triangles. Like I said, you can do circles, ovals, orange peels, other things like that, but that's going to be a little bit further down the line in the tutorials. So I think that's all for now, but let me know in the comments if there's anything specific you want to see, and I'll get those done. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.